Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time of the day it is as you're watching this program. Welcome to Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff. And we got Matt joining once again. This is our post game. We haven't had a chance to really get together until now to talk about the just another impressive victory last night over which is a really good team. They may not have looked all that great, but I think the Eagles had a big part of the reason why the Rams did not look that good. But they've been playing really well. They have all the weapons as far as a team offensively that you would want. Good running back, good Super Bowl winning quarterback, and two really good wide receivers. And the Eagles once again played very, very well, leading to a 37-20 victory. We got Matt here. We're going to obviously go through our normal post game. But we're going to take it a little bit more slower than typically because usually we have Matt on the beginning, middle of the week after I've already done a post game. So we'll talk through it and we'll highlight what we feel the thumbs up and thumbs down we can normally do. General thoughts about the game. There's some really high highs in this one, as we know, and there's one really bitter, sweet casualty of the game, unfortunately, and we'll get into that. But Matt, there's really two words I want to start off with, and that is Saquon Barkley. Welcome to the program, as always.
We've been saying, we just addressed this last week, too. We said Saquon gives them that home run playability, which is why I think the staff trusts to keep running the ball in the second half, which is different than prior Eagles teams for the last, decade. And then you see what happens. And his second half stats are mind-blowing. So in this game, he was active in the first half, but I don't know, it seems like maybe every other week over the last 3 weeks, that first play after halftime is a run and he goes for 50, 60, 70 yards and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. And they did it again this time. And then he catches another late one where he goes for 70 more yards. Thank you, Saquon, for my fantasy football team. But they can run, we've been saying it for weeks, and I don't mean to be we're never wrong, but on this one, we've been right. Run the ball, don't turn the ball over, let the line dominate the other team and just mash them into the ground, and you see what can happen, right? I mean, even Gainwell's getting 7 yards per carry and moving the ball well. And there's, on some of these plays, they broke it down last night with Chris Collinsworth. And he'd just pause it a second after the ball was snapped. And he'd be like, the line has already pushed the line 5 yards down the field.
Yep.
So if you've got that and Barkley, then you're going to keep breaking these big runs time and time again. So,
and I think as the season's gone on, I think Barkley's getting better in navigating, just because this is his first year with the Eagles, right? So This is why he number one, he gets better during the game. Plus, they're wearing down the defense. That's probably the primary reason. But I also think that Barkley is now getting used to running behind this line and finding the nooks and crannies or know where these other little small gaps open up that he might not have been noticing earlier in the year. I think that's happening.
Yeah. He's a major problem for teams to try to figure out. The only team that is running the ball with as much success is Detroit. The Ravens have kind of calmed down a little bit.
Yeah, Henry's, you knew his age was going to creep up with him at some point because he's over 30, isn't he? 30, 31, maybe?
I think he's right at 30. He's a
little bit older is my point. And so, as the season goes on, as good as he is, you'd think he's going to break down sooner than some of these other guys. He's still a great back, but maybe people are starting to just, zero in on him more. But yeah, you got the Detroit running game, which has got basically a two-prong attack. They almost do exactly what the Eagles do. Number one, this is why they're on a collision course, these two teams. They have a great offensive line that manhandles and mauls the defense. This is their scheme. You see it every game. They'll have Montgomery run basically the whole first quarter. Gibbs hardly even sees the field. He might for a play or two.
He gets 2 series in the second quarter, and then he gets
the team and defense is beating the hell by the second half. They're tired, and then they bring in their fast guy Gibbs, and they're
can't catch up to him.
Yeah, and Eagles do the same thing, or at least not the same thing. But what's happening with the Eagles games is the Eagles offensive line is just mauling and tiring the hell out of these defenses. And by the second half, Barkley's See ya.
Yeah, I'm gone.
Gainwell when he comes in. Just they're all broken down by the time Gainwell gets into the game. I like the fact that at least they did last night. They kept Barkley in the red zone offense last night, and that's what I've been saying they should do, unless he needs a breather. And you'll see also, I don't know if you noticed it, but when Barkley, like a couple times last night, he would look over the sidelines and do the old like wave off, and then Gainwell will come in. I'm like, that's what they need to do. Don't like just say, oh, we're in the red zone, bring Gainwell in. That was driving me nuts. So hopefully they switch that. It seems like they may have their strategy there. But 26 carries for 255 yards and over 70 touchdowns. So anyone who had him in fantasy, if you lost, I don't know how that.
The 59 fantasy points in our league.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, 66 in the league I'm in.
Outstanding performance. And, Barkley, if you give 2 thumbs up to Barkley, then it's 2 thumbs up to the O-line. So, like, it's like a package deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Against a good Rams defense. Like, the Rams are coming on strong, and it looked like we handled the Rams. Like there was no point in the game where it was like, oh, we got to play catch-up. It was like, no, we're going to handle them. And we handled them pretty much start to finish.
Yeah, and I think Vic Fangio, deserves credit, too, defensively, because he seems to be like, you've seen all this kind of play out too, in as far as the, how the games are kind of like writing their own story every week. It's like they might get off to a slow start defensively, where the offense is really moving the ball. That's what happened last night. First couple of Rams drives, they just went right down the field.
Yep.
It's like Vic is like
got a touchdown.
He's like in real time making changes and adjustments. He doesn't wait to halftime because really those first couple drives, Rams didn't do anything really. Rest of the game
after that. Yep.
Yeah, they were gifted from the refs a couple times that kept drives alive. Drove me nuts. But
I haven't seen the refs be so off on non-calls this year. Like the flags are coming out where you're like, that is not – the guy wasn't even impeded. Like how do you even throw that flag?
Second straight week in a row. And if there's even if I was a ref and I saw – because some guys just – they might be losing their balance and just slightly tug the jersey, doesn't do anything with the play. Or whatever. Maybe it doesn't balance. It's just a habit or whatever. If he squeezes the jersey for a half a second, it doesn't impede the play at all. And they throw a flag. That's absolutely ridiculous. Last night, the guy didn't even grab the jersey and he threw a flag.
No. It was like open palms around the area, not even really impeding. And and it was like less than a microsecond because you're watching it in slow motion. You're like, his hand makes contact there around his hip, but he ain't holding him. And it's like the ref's going to throw a flag on that. Seems so
big calls.
No, and the more they throw the flag, the more they make me.
And it's like, come on, that drive was over with. So the Eagles gave up 20 points, but 7, potentially 10 points of that was gifted by the referees last night.
Yeah.
The bottom line is though, the Eagles defense continues, and this was a huge test. We talked about it last.
This was a good test.
This was a big test for the Eagles defense. They're ranked number 1 in the NFL, and last night they showed why. Against a good Rams team on the road, which, by the way, you never know the game was on the road.
Yeah,
Shout out to our fellow Eagle fans last night, man. That was awesome.
Must have been a deal on
Rams home game. Go ahead. Sorry.
Man. No, I was like, they must have had a deal on flights because you heard those Eagles fans. You heard the EAGLE. I heard that over the microphone. Yeah. And when Rams had the ball, all you hear is noise, and it was just fantastic to see out there in LA. But that game was in control from start to finish. Fangio made a couple adjustments, but the offense never looked like they were stuck either. They just kept grinding. Big catches from Dallas Goedert when they needed, big catches from AJ. Hurts still kind of doesn't see the flat passes that are out there to the running back like you wish he would, and sometimes he still runs.
Yeah.
You had mentioned something yesterday when we were watching the game. One, probably 3 too many designed runs to Hurts, but you never know. Like if they're doing that to just set up something in the second half, then fine. But it just seems like.
Well, the one that really bothered me, not only that play just drives me nuts, but the one that really bothered me was when was there just before halftime? Was there 8 seconds left on the clock? and they ran that play.
Yeah.
It was so stupid. Number one,
throw the field and hope for a flag.
Yeah. Two, you're risking it hurts to get hurt on any run play that you call, and you're going to run it there. Yeah. 8 seconds left to go. It was just so stupid of a play call. I don't know if that's Sirianni who called that or more, either one. Dumb. As dumb as possible. So that one really just was like, what the hell are you doing? But I don't have a lot of negatives about the game, but that was one of them for sure.
That was just a little bit too many of the Hurts designed runs. Whether Hurts changed the call in the huddle or what, I don't know if it matters, but Hurts just ran the ball too many times when he didn't need to. Like, you've got Goddard, AJ Brown, Jahan Dotson is a high round draft pick who's a young guy that can get open too. I'm like, why are we messing around with that stuff? Hike the ball, throw. I want to, instead of those QB runs, show me the quick slants.
Quick slants. I was just saying last night, quick slant.
Quick slant. Hurts throws a great quick slant ball. Hike, back foot hits, boom, throw that slant. AJ's going to beat his guy. Smith usually beats his guy, but Goddard, with these little tight end dumps over the middle, like, you've got the slant to AJ, the dump to Dallas Goddard, and even if it's just 3 or 4 yards, just do that. Like, that's a little frustrating at times to watch that, but AJ had a couple big catches to open things up, and you see the danger that is there when they're worried about AJ Brown and worried about Saquon Barkley, and then these teams just get caught in the middle, and somebody's going to break it big.
Yeah. So I mentioned this to you last night. What I love about AJ Brown is he is the anti Jalen Reagor.
Yeah.
He's not looking for to get out of bounds as soon as he catches the ball. He is, as soon as he catches the ball, even if he catches it heading towards out of bounds, he stops. And he's like, nah, you guys are going to have to get me down. It takes off. Yeah. I just love that about him.
Yeah, he's a beast. Love to have him. And they I'm curious to see, they still seem like they haven't even hit their ceiling yet, right? The Eagles offense, like, they're still kind of like experimenting with things. So they still have the rest of the season to really get locked in before they get to the playoffs. So
2 more good tests coming up. 2 more good teams. Ravens.
Yeah, Ravens, great test again.
Yep.
We haven't seen a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, so that'll be an interesting test to see what Vic Fangio does to try to spy him.
Yeah.
But he's seen him before when he was in the AFC with the Broncos. So Nothing new for Fangio. And then, that defense is good, but it's not as good.
Not your typical Ravens, dominant defense you're used to. They're actually, was it them that's like, they're ranked like almost dead last. They're like in their bottom half for passing defense.
Yep. And they haven't seen a running back like Barkley. So
I don't think so.
And an offensive line like ours. So I think the Eagles, if they play their game like they should, no turnovers, run the ball, hit AJ and Goddard when you need to, like, we should win this game. Kind of like we won against the Rams, because they don't have the receivers that the Rams have.
And then you got the Steelers coming up too, which will be another tough game. But then, other than those 2 games, it's almost like cream cheese the rest of the way. I hate to say it that way. Yeah, like Carolina, Cowboys, and Commanders again. I don't see either one of those. Giants again. Yeah. And this was their last flight. Their only 2 road games left are Baltimore, which is a bus drive,
2 hours,
and Commanders. That's it. Everything else is at home, so they're not jumping on a flight until the playoffs. Well,
yeah, they got to avoid the letdown game though. The Panthers almost beat the Chiefs. Like that score up close.
The Chiefs are not nearly as good as their record.
Nope. But the Panthers almost beat the Chiefs means they're not nearly as bad as they were at the beginning of the season either. So,
well, what's surprising is that's true, but what is surprising is that they put as many points on the Chiefs that they did, because the Chiefs, one thing that is good on the Chiefs this year is their defense.
Yep.
And somehow Carolina put 20-something points on them.
20, I think it was a game.
Yeah, I know. That's one of those games I like to go and see at least the highlights. I did see the last play or the last series where Mahomes did his thing. I saw him take off for that late run. Mahomes is still, it doesn't matter what kind of game Mahomes finds a way to game. It doesn't matter. But yeah, So, but yeah, that's true. You have to always avoid the trap game, or you can't take any team lightly. But what I'm saying is, it's just certainly they have two big, they have two more tests, I guess. And the rivalry games, Dallas, I don't know if they've caught some light with their win. They played well. I don't know what's going on with the Commanders. We'll touch on that shortly. But just in going forward, I just think that my general point for bringing it up is the Eagles are not flying anymore the rest of the season. They're pretty much either at home or just taking a short jog down the John 95. All right, before we get into thumbs up, thumbs down, got to talk about. Well, I'll just tell you how I got the news. It's courtesy of Mr. Matt here. So, riding high after the game, just saw a dominant record, NFL historic performance by Barkley. Just about to chill out, kick up, and just relax now the game was over. I get a text from Matt 10 minutes after the game. BG is out for the season.
I had just flipped over to NFL Game Day just to catch their post-game interviews with the Eagles, see who they were going to interview after I turned off the Sunday night coverage. And they go through their highlights of the Eagles game. They mention a bunch of things. And then at the very last thing, they're like, and BG just let us know that he's got a torn triceps, and it sounds like he thinks he's going to be out for the year. And I'm like, what? I go on Facebook, and I'm like, yep. I got a friend in Philly. He's like, BG out for a season. F and A, what can you do? I didn't even see the play, and he got injured on. And BG had a 2 thumbs up game. Let's just start there.
Yeah. He was he looked like he was 25 years old again in that game.
Yep. And he's gonna be hard to replace. He's gonna be very hard to replace on this defense. That one might be.
It's almost like truly the last guy you would want to get hurt, even as silly as it sounds. Him in his last year at 35 years old, or whatever he is, because not only just because of the way he's still playing, but his leadership that he brings and his energy on the field, which you cannot replace. Now he's gonna do everything he can from the sidelines. It's just not the same as being on the field, but just horrible news.
No, and I can't think of another Eagles player that kind of fits the end, run stopping end, and can put pressure on the quarterback like BG can. So I guess Hunt will probably be in there.
Yeah.
And he's a pass rush specialist, but I'm like, I don't know. The run defense might take a hit here.
That's exactly what my thoughts were. You might be able to, you probably can't. First of all, you can't replace BG. We know that. But where I think it's really going to hurt is the run defense. That's where I think you might see the Eagles take a step back now.
Yep.
Which, again, if we're talking about a collision course with the Lions and you don't have BG in there, because the Lions will mash you and run the ball. I don't know. It's a long way. I don't want to jump that far ahead, but that's when we're really going to miss BG is in a game like that.
We'll find out against the Ravens. Instant coming our way. Yep.
Yeah. I have Derrick Henry licking his chops now but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, again, Fangio seems to be figuring out ways to keep tweaking his defense and making it better. I mean, you might see guys like a Jomo or
probably we need to see Booker on the end.
Booker. Yeah, maybe Booker. Body. Not sure. He was there last night in that goal line play.
I would move Booker out to the end.
Got to figure out someone else to put out there because it's too. I think it's too much. I know he's a raw phenom potentially guy, Jalix Hunt, but it's just a lot to ask out of a rookie who's not even who they knew was kind of a project for a year or two anyway to come in there but maybe who knows? He's been with us for a little while now, so. But we're really thin there. I mean, we're really thin in 2 ways: thin depth wise, and thin because Nolan Smith is now 100% starter on the other end. And he's just an undersized defensive end. So
like a tweener.
Yeah.
For a specialist.
So he was lost. You feel really bad for BG because it might be very well be the last time we ever see him play.
Pretty much for sure. Yep.
Yeah. So
but he would have gotten my 2 thumbs up off the bat. Out of the defensive players, he had an awesome game and we needed him big time. And
so well last night. So if he's going to go out, I guess if he's going to go out and this is ultimately his last game, what a last game. He did everything that we've always loved
Yeah.
about PG in this game. So, but it just sucks. Let's face it, it just sucks.
I had to have that late too. I don't know. Maybe in the midway through the fourth quarter. I'm not even sure when he went out, but
Well, he described it. I did see him go out, and when he went out, they showed us he was sitting on the bench, and they were looking at him, and I saw his look on his face, and it was a look that I was like, that looks like he looked like he got some bad news about something, and I didn't see him get hurt either. He described it as he was, rushing, doing his thing, running around, trying to do an outside rush, and he said the back. I don't know if he meant Williams or if there was somebody else in there, fullback or whatever. He said the back chipped him on the arm, and he goes when he did the chip block, he hit him right in the elbow, and he said he felt like major pain from the chip block. So that's how he got hurt. I still haven't actually seen the play, but that's what happened. He says that he could do a lot of like today he was on. I saw him on the radio show at WP, and he was on there live. He does a Monday show every Monday. And he's like, yeah, I can do all this with my hand. He's like, yeah, all this stuff I can do fine. He goes, but, when I have to do a pass rushing move and I move my arm, like he just kind of was like, he couldn't do it. But he's like, I try to do other moves. And he's like, oh, yeah. I told him I don't have a tricep. Because he didn't believe the guy when he told him, I think he tore your tricep. He's like, no, I can. He's like, yeah, try to do this or whatever. Like, he's like
nothing.
Couldn't do it at all.
Dead arm. You got a dead arm.
Yeah, so we'll see. I guess it's not like if there's any like sliver of hope, like he hasn't like officially been told that he's like done, like he can't get back, but it looks like he is. He was saying today even that it's a 4-month injury. So 4 months from now, that takes you into March.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless he's got a miraculous speedy recovery, or once they get in there and take a closer look, it's not as bad as, it's one of those things where, okay, it's not completely torn. Maybe you could shave off a month from but let's just, it seems like he's definitely out for the season. So it's a big loss for the Eagles, obviously. What's interesting though, getting back to Barkley is I'm like, did we predict how many rushing yards you can have, because he's now in a pace now to break potentially the all-time rushing record of Adrian Peterson. Which, by the way, if he does, this is why being a traditionalist like I am, I like obviously an extra football game in the season, but it just distorts and it ruins all these NFL records, all these guys who did it in 16 games or whatever. So, but Barkley's got a chance to break Adrian Peterson's record. Right now, he's ahead of it. And he's going to have an extra game to do it. So, but I went back and I'm looking at all our preseason predictions.
I don't think we did yards.
What's that?
I don't recall doing yards.
Well, yeah, because we didn't, even though I had it written down. So
yeah,
when I was going through it that day and I was writing down and I asking the questions to you and we were writing down what our responses were, I have these 4 where I didn't even ask. Rushing yards for Barkley, receiving yards for Barkley, touchdowns for Barkley, and sacks allowed by Jurgens. Not one single one of them did we answer. And didn't answer because I didn't ask. So, because I'm like, I wonder how close you and I are to,
Why you need a producer in your run the show and focus on that.
Yeah,
I don't know. If Barkley hits 2,000 yards, great. If not, doesn't matter. Like, I just want him healthy for the playoffs.
I really don't think it matters to him. He already asked out in that one game earlier in the season when he could have, they asked him, you're 20 yards away from breaking your personal record yards per game or whatever it was. He just broke it last night, ironically. I guess Barkley, I'll do it later. He's probably thinking I'll just do it later this year.
Yeah.
But at the time, he's like, nah, like you said, I think we mentioned on the show, just let the other guys eat. So I don't even think Barkley gives a crap. I think he seems to be a player that's all about winning. I don't think he's gonna.
I'll tell you, I am surprised at how few catches he has at this point in the season. I thought he would have been catching a lot more, but I think that's just because Hurts does not look that way 90% of the time.
Well, we saw it last night. I mean, you alluded to it earlier, but I was like, that one play where he ended up trying to force this play to the end zone to I think it was Goddard or Brown. I forget what it was now, but I mean, half a second after the play started, There's absolutely no one within 20 yards of Gainwell, and no one between him and the end zone. And if Hurts though, hike.
Just looking for my one read. It's not there.
Half a second to look at Gainwell.
Yep.
I mean,
like just look, spot it, and then like I don't get what the deal is. He gets locked on a little bit. If Hurts can somehow improve that, imagine how good he'd be on the field. But I don't know. It seems to be the one weakness in his game is he doesn't quite see that like these other great quarterbacks see it. But
year 5 in the league, you have to. That's the tough. That's why it's just you get it. I'm critical of Hurts, but I know he's good, and I don't not like Hurts. It's just if he could just bring his game to that level of field awareness, then he'll in this offense.
Amazing. It'd be amazing.
Yeah. And it's like Joe Burrow, it's Matt Stafford. Obviously, the guys have been retired, like, Rodgers, somebody like Rodgers, Brady's, Drew Brees. They don't miss Gainwell 20 yards wide open with no one there.
They peripherally see that, and they're like, get the number 1 and 2 read. I'm going to number 4 right off the bat because he's wide open.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And but anyway,
with Hurts. So
they didn't need it last night, but it's like if that play ever happened in the Super Bowl, that's gonna just anyway. I don't want to talk negative because the team's playing so well right now. But we're gonna still point out some critical aspects of this game. That's what we do here. But overall, the Eagles are playing really well. They are, without a question, probably the only threat to the Lions in the conference. I don't know if there's anyone else that could beat either one of these teams.
No, I mean, maybe Green Bay, because Green Bay can run the ball. And if they get a little bit more, like their receivers were dinged up in the beginning of the year. So they've got Watson back and Dobbs. So they're probably the third team.
They wouldn't be playing. They would be on the road. And that's the difference there, too. Green Bay is one of those teams that has one of those home field advantages. You got to go to Lambeau and play them. That's different than with them going on the road.
Short travel.
I don't know if their defense is good enough either right now.
Yeah, well, that's the only other 2 teams are in the NFC North. It's the Vikings and the Packers. There's nobody else. There's nobody else in the NFC East, it appears, at this point, except for the Eagles. There's nobody else in the NFC West, like Seattle, San Francisco. Like everybody's everyone's trying to fight in the NFC West to get to 6 wins.
The Rams, I mean, I still think the Rams are good, but the Eagles clearly just showed how much better they are than the Rams. Rams are one of those teams that could knock off, potentially maybe. Well, I say this, but like I would think maybe they would have a shot against the Lions, but the Lions are built much like the Eagles, and we saw what the Eagles just did to them. So maybe that wouldn't happen. The team that the Eagles got to be concerned about is Tampa Bay. They don't want to see Tampa in the playoffs.
Yep.
So Tampa Bay, if they play the Eagles, I will be that game is going to make me nervous.
I want Tampa to be having to get through the wild card game, and then I want them to be the lowest seed so that they have to play the Lions. And I want the Eagles can take on anybody else. I think it'd be fine. Tampa would be they would have to remove that freaking abscess tooth from their mouth eventually, but I'm like, I don't trust that they would do it. Tampa just freaking owns them. Bulls knows them in and out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's getting ahead of ourselves, though, right?
It is. But I just was like, the bottom line is the Eagles are playing really well. They're one of the NFL's best teams for sure, and it's all good. Now we go and get another test with the Ravens coming up. I know we kind of talked about some of the thumbs up and thumbs down, but let's just make it official. Thumbs up, Barkley, we know. That goes without saying. My other thumbs up for the game was BG, talking about him. So BG, like I said, this is his last game. One hell of a game to go out with the way he did. And my third guy, Mo Williams. I mean, I probably should put Jalen Carter on here as well because they were doubling Carter the entire game.
And he still made an impact.
And because they were Mo Williams, you always still made an impact. Absolutely. He still even got through a couple times.
Yep.
But, when that happens to your main guy, then you need guys to step up, and Mo Williams was the guy. last night, and so was BG. But Mo Williams from the tackle spot, when they were doubling his partner and then next to him, he got through and made a couple of really big plays and was kind of like wrecking the game back there too. So he'd be my third thumbs up.
Yeah, I'll throw Carter in there as my number 3, at least for defense. But, Carter is to the defensive line as Cooper DeJean is to the defensive secondary too. It's amazing how many things that guy gets tasked with. And if DeJean were to leave the field, that secondary takes a step back. Whereas the other guys, it seems like they can leave the field and they'll be all right. Slay's going out for some time. Rogers comes in, plays well. They seem to be okay. Blankenship was out for a series for at least the rest of that series that he got the stinger on early.
Yep.
And they're okay. And it's like, but if DeJean goes out, it seems like they lose a tackler that's right around the line of scrimmage and they lose their best cover guy for the slot.
Yeah.
So DeJean and Carter are the 2 most important cogs right now on that by far.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, if Mitchell, knock on wood, he hasn't not missed any places he's played this year. There might be some slippage if he was to leave the game because he, again, has had another good game.
Shut down. Yeah.
Yeah, that was his first touchdown he gave up last night for the season. And it was against Cooper Kupp in the red zone. How many great corners has Cooper Kupp beat in the red zone in his career? Yeah. And it's not beat him bad. Mitchell was there, but Cooper Kupp he's deadly in the red zone. He's just a good receiver.
What happened after that? Nothing. So Mitchell has the bounce back of to be a good cornerback, you got to be a goldfish and have a 10-second memory. So,
yep.
Guy's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, this offseason might be Howie's best outside of the Huff acquisition, but nobody's perfect. But outside of Huff,
it's by far the best draft.
Picks. He absolutely nailed them. Probably got both. I can't think of another cornerback. Got the best 2 cornerbacks in this draft on the same year, and in picking, and then obviously the Barkley acquisition. I mean, 5 stars. I mean, I guess you got to give him 4 stars because you got to knock 1 star off for, Huff. But,
yeah, and the receiver Wilson, Johnny Wilson's been on the field. He's been playing lots of downs. He's caught a touchdown, and so a lot of productivity.
And even Dotson, I just wish they would incorporate Dotson more. Like you kind of mentioned him earlier, he catches everything. Even that bad pass that
he had to reach back for.
Way behind him, he still caught it and made a gain out of it. I think they should use him more. He seems to catch everything. I haven't seen him drop anything really. Maybe he had a drop early in the season, but
I think that's everything, right? I think that's Hurts not quite getting to Dotson without that read. Yep. So I think he's an AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert if Smith ain't there, and then he's like, nope, I'm not looking anymore.
He takes off. Yeah. Sometimes he'll take off after his first read. I don't even know if he gets to a second read.
Yeah, I did think Hurts looked sharp and quick though in the first half. Like he didn't seem to be hesitating.
Well, I'm just nitpicking,
Every time he throws a ball out of bounds to just save the play and just move on to the next down, I'm like, that just reminds me of Troy Aikman in the 80s, where it's like the play's not there, chuck it out of bounds, live to fight another day. And he's trusting that. I think what's obvious is Hurts. I think what hurt Hurts last year was he signed that big contract, thought that he had to be the hero and do things that we don't need him to do. And now he's like, all you have to do is just be yourself, throw that ball away if there's too much stuff around you. I don't even mind him running because he's not fumbling the ball every week like he was at the beginning of the season. Just don't turn the ball over, play smart football, be the guy, but trust that your other guys, if you get them the ball, are going to make plays and score. And that makes you look good. So I think some of that pressure is gone from last year, and he's been a better quarterback for it. And, the offensive line blocking, this offense, if they want to, can probably just win. I don't see another defense in the NFL being able to stop the Eagles offense. Just like the Super Bowl year, I was like, can you stop us? It's like Bill Belichick and his Patriots and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, but you guys cannot stop us on offense. You cannot stop us on offense. And I wonder what team is out there.
Was it Howie Long's son? What's
Chris?
His son's name? Was it Chris Long? Saying they can't stop it. Like there's that soundbite in the Super Bowl
Yeah.
And then Nick Foles is like, no, they can't. I think it was Howie. Or Chris Long saying they can't stop us. And he's like standing right next to Nick Foles. He's like, they can't stop us. They can't stop us, Nick. And Nick's like, no, they can't.
No, they can't.
Go right off.
Yeah, that's where we're at. I don't see a defense that's gonna put fear in us or be able to stop us.
Yeah.
And I would love
maybe
it.
Kansas City, if it ends up being a Super Bowl rematch, that defense at times could be very good.
Yep.
With who's that defensive tackle they have? That guy's a wrecker.
Chris Jones, bring him on. Bring him on.
And they have a good secondary there. And the other guy there, Kanakanis or whatever his name is, Caracas, the other linebacker or defensive end guy. Is that his name? It starts with K. It's like Caracas or something like that. He's really good.
Yeah.
So maybe just them. But, yeah, I totally agree in general with your point. And I would say maybe Detroit if they still had Hutchinson. But that's a loss for them.
Yep.
Those are just guys you can't replace. So, yeah, I don't think there's any. I think just you line up a team. That's why that Eagles, if it ends up Eagles-Lions, that is going to be a knockout, like freaking war at the line the entire game.
It's got to be. It's going to be so important that we keep up with them and hopefully get to host the game at home. Like that was going to be so important to play at home.
You know why? Because number one, Detroit, even though Detroit's a cold weather state, that's a dome team. And you're right. I would much have that Lion high-flying offense be playing in 15-degree weather in January at, the link in cold-ass weather versus their comfortable zone up in Detroit for an NFC Championship game. That's key. But I don't know if the Lions are going to stumble. See, now, one thing I was thinking, I don't know if you know the answer to this. I didn't do much digging into it. But if they end up tied, like who would get the tiebreaker between those two right now?
Yeah, I don't know. That's where that loss to the Falcons hurts because there's an NFC opponent. But
they beat Green Bay. So if one of the losses, who did Detroit lose to this year?
I don't even recall.
I don't either, but I'm thinking so here's what I'm thinking. If one of the losses was to Green Bay and they have a tied record, then they would be 1-1 against the Packers, just hypothetically, and Eagles would be 1-0. I don't know if that would be I think it goes head to head, which they wouldn't play each other head to head. So that goes to the next tiebreaker, which I think is conference record. So yeah, so that gets back to your point, that Falcon freaking loss and Tampa Bay. They lost, both of the losses are in the conference.
Yeah, but Tampa owned us, but that whole Falcon like we should have this game already in the bag. It shouldn't even come down to that Barkley pass and drop.
Yeah,
where Tampa was like, no, we're not here today. We didn't.
Yeah, Tampa was a legit ass whooping loss.
Yeah,
Atlanta, we should never lost that game.
Yep.
Yeah, that one
can't
could
get
hurt.
Points back now though. So if we have all from that,
they're a good road game. It just that would be a team that would be not nearly. You think it would be? They would not be the same high flying team that they are right now in that cold Philadelphia weather in January. But we'll see. It is what it is. If they earned it, they earned it. They got to go to Detroit. They got to go to Detroit. That's what it is. All right, thumbs down. I only have one, and I already talked about it. The freaking second straight week. The lousy referees in this game.
Yeah, just I don't know what they're looking at. And the more bad calls that they make, the more it makes me speculate. Like maybe the NFL's scripted. Maybe there's too much money in betting around here. Like I just don't even know. And that's crazy conspiracy, I know. But I'm like, but my thoughts end up going there because I'm like, what the hell was that? Like that was totally unnecessary. Like, what are you doing?
Like it happened 2 or 3 times in the game where they like these ridiculous calls. It's like, dude, I mean, such nitpicky. Yeah, if you're going to call that, you can call pass interference on almost every single play. So why don't you do it then?
Yeah, and it was weird. It was also weird with the challenge, right? For the
strange. Yeah,
I didn't get that. I didn't know if that was more on Sirianni's fault but it seemed like in Collinsworth that the flag was out there before the ball was snapped. So I'm like, how can you not see that as the ref and blow the whistle, even if the play had started? Like the whole play ran and nobody blew a whistle.
I mean, Sirianni did wait till the absolute last second because you saw him on the sideline screaming at his people to let him go quicker.
Like,
so he definitely just barely got it off. Like I think Collinsworth was the guy who said it didn't even hit the ground yet. Like it was like in the air, about to hit the ground when that's how late it was thrown. But he did just get it off in time, but they had to go like replay to see it.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a team like I didn't think like once they ran a play.
I've never seen that. I've never seen they run a play, bring it back.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. So that was surprising. I thought that they blew it. I honestly did. But so that was strange. I don't think I've ever seen them do that. Like even any penalty. I don't think I've ever seen or penalty or delay game or whatever. I've never seen them run a play and then go, oh, wait, we're going to review the previous play of the play that was just run. I've never seen it.
I guess my thumbs down would be on either the play calling for the Hurts runs that were ineffective or Hurts himself not missing those side. But I don't really want to criticize Hurts. Hurts was on the game for the throws that he needed to be there for.
Yeah,
so maybe just a little bit of the play calling. But at the same time, even that's balanced out by sticking with the run in the second half. So I don't know if I have any other. Let's give all 4 thumbs down to the refs sucking again.
That's what I did. Like I said, I'm nitpicking on Hurts. Overall, he's playing well. I'm not saying he's not. It's just there's just so certain plays that I just wish that he would be able to see. Like really good quarterbacks do see those. Those really just obvious ones. Like if I was a quarterback, I know it's easier said than done, but I just think that if I was a quarterback and I knew what the play was, I know I got Brown running on, going into the end zone, running along across the back line. I know that I got Goddard doing a quick hook, and I know that I have, Gainwell just doing a quick little hook out in the flat. If I know that's the play, and I pre-read the defense, and it doesn't look like anyone's really covering Gainwell, well, at least even if Brown's my first read, I'm going to at least give a quick glance over there before I throw it to Brown to just see if there's still no one covering Gainwell.
Yeah, because the field's going to clear, and it cleared immediately on that flat.
Immediately, there was no one on him. No one, literally within 15 yards of him. And no one between him and the end zone. I mean, it was completely cleared. He could have walked in, carrying a freaking anvil.
Yeah. So I wish you'd see those. So maybe a 1 thumbs halfway there, but it's hard to criticize Hurts not being a gamer every play and stuff. So
he's a gamer. I'm not. Listen, that's why I don't have him on my thumbs down because it wasn't a bad game. It's just that stuff. I just wish that he would stick.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all. I don't have any other. It's good to see Jake Elliott get involved early, and then when he's there. Speaking of bad weather games going down to the playoffs, I'd rather have Jake Elliott kicking outdoors than Bates, the Detroit kicker, the rookie. Like he's not had to kick in any bad weather at all. So make him down to a field goal between those 2 teams, and I would much rather have Jake Elliott all warmed up and ready to go. Like they really won on all 4 sides, like complementary offense, defense, special teams. Everything was there when they needed to be against a Rams team on a big game on a road trip. So. Just a fantastic job by the Eagles and the coaches to get them ready to play.
Yeah. No, I mean, really good game all around. A big test. I was a little concerned about the Rams because, the Eagles have, let's face it, they're on a long winning streak, but they, outside of the Commanders, not a lot of wins that they've been playing against for a while now. A lot of bad teams, and they've been housing them, doing what good teams do, beating them badly. But still, you wanted to see them get tested. This was a good test. You might see the Rams go out there and win the next 4 games. I mean, they're good. That's a decent team out there.
They're good. Yeah, I don't know if they played Detroit yet, but that's a team that might be able to sneak a victory.
I hope they do because I'd like this. I think the Rams are one of those teams that could at least test Detroit. But so that was the most impressive thing. And by the way, and I mentioned it, I texted you during the game. Puka Tua. I don't know how 32 teams passing this guy 7 straight times. How a guy with that size, those hands,
great attitude.
He's gonna go freaking wide receiver too. He's tough to freaking get down.
Yep.
How does that guy get passed over by 32 teams 7 times? Or almost 7 times. He's picked in the 7th round. I mean, I know he's a small school guy and everything, but it's what are your scouts doing? No scout outside of maybe the Rams, apparently. We're hey, this guy looks like he might be able to play in this league.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable how good he is.
Yep. He's Cup and
he's a great receiver.
To Atwell. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
He's really good. I mean, I'm impressed with the guy. He's another guy that looks for contact. He's like an A.J. Brown mentality. He doesn't want to go down. You don't see him running out of bounds, and
Nope.
he's a physical guy. He doesn't catches everything and gets open all the time. He's good. Anyway, major props. It's just not all about the Eagles here. We like to point out other guys that stand out. And speaking of that, let's just do a quick little circle around the league, as now we're heading into week 13. So we got a really good sample size now of the contenders versus the pretenders. We've talked about quite a few of the contenders already. Some of the pretenders, one of them is in our division, I think.
Yeah,
it was Johnny to get some feedback on. Johnny actually was at the game. A friend of the show, Johnny, who joins us, the Commanders fan. Those of you familiar with the show know Johnny's been on here. He was on there a couple weeks ago. He was actually there to witness what happened yesterday in person. So we'll get him on. The Eagles play them again. So we'll ask him about that game when we get Johnny.
It was a miserable Monday for sure, all day today. Miserable local DC. They were all back. They're all questioning, oh my God, have we been, watching delusions of grandeur? What's happening here? Why is this happening? How can we lose to the Cowboys? All that stuff. So Commanders seem to be possibly imposter at this point. They were
3 straight games of loss now. 3 straight losses.
And they just, Dallas just didn't allow them to run the ball. And even though Robinson got hurt and then Eckler's out in concussion protocol, so they may not have either one of those running backs for next week.
Robinson got hurt again?
Yep. So
I knew Echo got dinged up, but so here's the thing, and I mentioned this in the Commanders when we had Johnny on. I said, these rookie quarterbacks, almost all of them, at some point in the season, hit a wall. And at that point before the game, I'm like, your guy hasn't hit a wall yet. Maybe he's hitting a wall now. Now I know he had the big comeback, throw to McLaren, but as you mentioned, before we, started recording this, that was more McLaren making a play out of that. And yeah, of course it was a great pass, but McLaren just freaking, weaved right through and just took off and scored it. Still got to give Daniels credit for it, but Daniels, and you watched the game, I didn't, so you can speak to it more than me, and I'll certainly let you do that.
I think the biggest thing missing from their game is
he's struggling a little bit here in recent weeks. So go ahead. I know you watched.
Fine reading defenses and throwing the ball, but he doesn't have any explosive runs going on anymore. Where either he's being spied on, or something's being done defensively to keep him there, or they haven't trusted him to be back from his injury yet to call these runs. But that explosive running skill, he had one big run yesterday, and that was it. And when they were in the first 5 weeks of the season, he was breaking 2 or 3 of those runs every game, which opens up everything. It was like watching old school McNabb. If he broke a 25-yard run in the first quarter, you knew McNabb was going to be able to throw passes the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And it seems to be the same thing with Daniels. If he can't break a run early, then teams just kind of have him figured out. And maybe some of that's the Cliff Kingsbury offense being figured out as well in the second half, which seems to be a thing. But the Commanders fans are kind of in a panicking mode now because they were yay, rah, rah, and then got their souls ripped out yesterday.
Leading the division, leading the NFC East, and now being 2 or 2.5, whatever they are, now behind the Eagles.
Yeah.
And plus the Eagles beat them pretty good. So I think they realized that the division is probably, no longer there for them. And now they got to battle for the, one of those wild card spots.
Yeah. I think around the league, the Broncos, are for real with Bo Nix.
Well, that's the other thing. Speaking of Daniels slippage and Nix really doing well.
Yeah.
He might now be, may have passed him in the rookie of the year. I mean, it's probably close now. It's probably neck and neck between those two.
Yeah. And the Giants had a chance at Bo Nix. They didn't have a chance at Daniels or Caleb Williams, but they had a chance at Bo Nix.
Sprinkle some salt into the open Giants wound.
And just saying, Bo Nix was there at 6. So I don't know. The Broncos look like they're for real. Cortland Sutton had a huge game yesterday, and they're finding connection, Nix and Sutton. Yeah, and then there's nobody for real yet in the NFC West. Everyone's kind of dinged up and injured, and the Rams should be primed to take over that division, but everyone keeps losing to each other. Right. So,
but look out for Seattle, though, too. And that team's well coached. I like their coach over there. They got some talent, Nigma, Jackson Smith Nigma, whatever his name is.
Yep.
He's really coming on strong. Of course, they got Metcalf. Their running back Walker's good. And Geno continues to just, he's good. I mean, he's not a great quarterback, but Geno's well enough.
He's made some plays when they needed it this year. But and for real, and they're tested, right? So anybody that comes out of that division is going to be tested. That's for sure.
You know how hard it is to play, hitting them out there in Seattle. 49ers just have been killed by injuries this year. So that's what their issue is, clearly.
Yeah. I think Vikings and Packers are both good football teams. Not sure where they stack up. I think clearly, like we already talked about, Lions and Eagles are at the top. And that's it for the NFC. The AFC, it's the same old teams, really. The Bills, the Chiefs. I don't think the Dolphins are going to do much of a push.
No, that's a big difference with Tua in that offense. And a lot of the losses this year were without him.
Without him.
They could make a – I mean, I get what you're saying, though. They're not with the Kansas Cities, but the Dolphins are one of those teams where if they get into the playoffs –
which they have a good chance.
And they're not playing in below 30-degree weather.
Yeah.
What happened this year. They might be a dangerous team.
So anyway, the Steelers are still leading the AFC North, but if the Ravens, if they win tonight, they have a chance of catching the Steelers. And you would think that one of the wild cards is coming out of the AFC North, and see either the Steelers or the Ravens, because the Browns and Bengals are done. And then, the Denver Broncos being a team that's coming alive, there's a lot of interesting things. And I think the record won't really matter. It'll be what is that team that's hottest going into those first few weeks of the playoffs, and can you put together 5 weeks of wins? So I don't know. That's where we're at. The folks that aren't the true imposters are the Jets. They're nothing. Aaron Rodgers blew up that team.
You have to, if you're a Jets fan, you have to think that the Jets are a jinxed or hexed team. Just from the whole, I'm one that got totally suckered in, 100%. I bought into the Jets once they got Rodgers here. I'm like, man, this team with a really good defense, and I'm like, all this team really needed has been a quarterback. And within 4 plays of his debut, he's out for the season last year. Comes back this year, and the team's been a complete implosion. They've fired their coach after 6 weeks. I mean, the Jets, they just can't get out of their own way, the organization.
They fired their GM. They fired the GM.
But during the season, the GM gets fired. I don't know if I've even ever heard of that before.
Yeah.
It's just that team is just now Rodgers is like, I don't even want to play for you guys anymore. So now he's going to be out the door. Like they're thinking, I heard they're
pick GM. Yeah, or he picks his next GM and coach, and they give him so much money. They're like, well, we're riding with Rodgers, and good luck with that.
Yeah, I don't know, but the Jets are just
they're awful.
It's just amazing. I'm glad I'm not a fan of that team. That has to be the most disheartening franchise to be a fan of.
They're putting themselves back another decade.
Let's talk about this for a second. So, who would you see as a team that you think has a potential to maybe make a late season run here and sneak into the playoffs and maybe be one of these sleeper type teams no one's really talking about right now? Do you have any of those out there?
I think Tampa is one of them, and I think Denver's probably the other.
Well, Denver might win. Is Denver going to win the division? Oh, no, they're in Kansas City's division. Okay.
Right.
So, yeah, okay, that's right. They're in the same division as KC. So they would get in as a wild card. Yeah, at this point, I don't know if I'd call them a sleeper, but I get what you're saying, though. I mean, the way I position that question, definitely a team to look out for. I'm still holding on hope, maybe because of this, like Joe Burrow, that if they can somehow figure out how to win these games, it's not his fault. But I don't know what their schedule is. Maybe they've been through their tough part of the schedule, and they have some teams that they could just get some momentum going. They have wins, right? Aren't they like 4-7? So they might have too many teams to try to have to pass. Probably they probably are out of it. I don't know.
So you'd have to get to roughly 9 wins probably to make it in with wild card. So they got to win 5 more games.
Yeah. I mean, I know they played Dallas.
They got a quarterback, they got Chase, but it's like, I don't know why they're losing. How do they lose these games? Like, it's just the defense just doesn't seem to be checked in at all.
Yeah, I don't know if the coaching too, but the defense certainly has given up some leads, and then their kicker can't finish off teams by just making an easy field goal.
Yeah. Vikings might be another sneaky team as well. They got a good defense.
They're 9-2, so I don't know if you call them a sneaky team.
Yeah, but I mean,
are they 9-2? Am I right about that? I might be wrong.
I don't think they're with 9-2, but they could be. I mean, Detroit's leading that division.
Yeah, but they lost.
That would mean they're tied with the Eagles with the second best record in the NFC. But they would be the wild card right now.
Yeah. Tampa for sure, because that's a team we know the Eagles don't want to play. But
plus they just got Evans back last week, so
right, which surprised me.
I
was surprised back in a month.
Yeah, and Baker's a gamer, so
Baker's a gamer. Like that's a guy who's never intimidated by whoever he's got to play. So I like Baker. He's a guy I've done a complete 360 on. Couldn't stand him coming out of college. Thought he was a cocky kid. I didn't like him really until, he started killing the Eagles. I mean, because he played well. It's not like he got lucky. He was playing really well, and I think he's just a good quarterback. And credit to him too, because he's one of those guys that they were calling busts. First draft pick, and
Odell Beckham's dad was calling him a bust. I think Cleveland fans were like, "Why are you getting rid of Baker? He was injured in 67 places the last year that he played for the Browns." And before that, he was a hero because he got him back into the playoffs and threw 20 touchdowns. And all of a sudden, it's just because the Browns management is so awful. They're like, move on. We're going to listen to Odell. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, it's the same thing.
You got to play like yesterday when he's blocking 30 yards down the field as a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean,
you tell me that you don't want that guy on your team. You want Deshaun Watson instead. You are the Jets, like you wear brown and the Jets wear green, but you have the same ownership concepts. Like I don't get any of it. It's not good for football.
Yeah. They're the AFC version of the Jets. You're right. Yeah. So any other contenders, pretenders, any other teams out there? That's probably it, right?
That's it.
It'd be interesting to see if Washington will be able to recover.
Chargers, San Diego Chargers.
Well, let's see what they're doing tonight. Well, both of us want to get in this show so we can go watch that game because pretty good matchup.
Up to the game, so
we'll see how they're doing. But yeah, the Chargers. I mean, good coach obviously has kind of turned their defense around. They one of the best defenses in the league. Herbert just doesn't have a lot of weapons. For some reason they got rid of all of them last year.
Yeah, Quentin Johnson's making catches though. They got enough.
He's good. I mean, he's good, but I don't know if they throw him enough. But he's at least a budding kind of star receiver there, or potential star. I won't call him star yet, but showed potential. And Robbins, the job. What's his last? J.K. Robbins. That's his name.
J.K. Dobbins.
Christopher Robbins. I don't know what the heck I'm thinking, but yeah, J.K. Dobbins. He's a good running back. So, all right. Any other final thoughts? We will be back probably Friday. Will everyone have a good Thanksgiving with their family and
happy birthday.
Happy birthday. And Matt and I most likely will be probably doing the preview game for the Ravens on Friday, so on Black Friday. So look out for that. Matt, any final thoughts before we
go
Birds? Go
Keep
Birds.
It right where it's at. Keep the pedal right where it's at.
That's it. All right. Very good. Matt, thanks for joining. All of you, thanks for joining. Make sure if you like the program, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe, of course, so you don't miss any future content. And until next time, fly, Eagles, fly. Have a good evening or morning whenever you're watching this, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Till then, again, fly, Eagles, fly. Go Birds.
Go Birds.